We are back. We back in the lab, you guys, with another setup. Y'all know the vibes. I like to just chill out here in the shop, sit in my boat, and talk to you guys about fishing. I love it. So today I got a good one, a really good one actually, and I want to highlight my old school folks, my non-forward facing sonar folks, my shallow water folks, my folks that live in the dirty South that fish them mud holes all the time. And shout out to the California Delta. They call it the Dirty D for a reason. This is where I learned how to fish this technique. This runs really deep to my core bass fishing. Matter of fact, probably the first lure I learned how to use for tournament fishing, not just in general, but a very specific bait that I utilized for tournament competition and had success. And I've caught countless over 8-pounders and a couple over 10 doing this right here, just to keep it all the way real. All right, guys, we're jumping into the setup jigs. So I'm gonna break down the categories of jigs. I'm gonna cover flipping jigs, casting jigs, which are casting and finesse jigs, and football jigs. I kind of throw all those on the same rod, so I figured we just throw them, kind of bundle them all in, and then we got our flipping jig kind of over here.
We already did the swim jigs too.
And we already did swim jigs for you guys, so no need to go back through there. So let's jump into the one that's dearest to my heart and that I'm most familiar with, and that's this guy right here. My old school folks will call this a jigging pig. Y'all youngsters, y'all don't know nothing about a jigging pig, man. Y'all don't even do this no more, man. But I actually caught some bass on this week, man, and it was actually kind of fun. I thought I was gonna catch some really giants, and I didn't, but that's bass fishing. But historically, especially in the spring, all through the late winter, early spring pre-spawn, this jig right here will oftentimes get you the biggest bite you can find, okay? Now this is a flipping jig, so those bass are starting to set up pre-spawn to get into their spawning areas, and before they do that, they get up on these shallow places, bushes, laydowns, dock poles, and they get real shallow. Why? So they can heat them eggs up to continue the fertilization, so they can go ahead and lay them eventually. And what more do they like than a big old crawfish or bluegill to get in their belly right before they go spawn? That's why this technique is so crazy and so good. And there it is right there, a flipping jig. I'm throwing anywhere from a 3/8 ounce to up to a 1 ounce. When I'm down in Florida, I'm throwing that big gnarly black and blue jig, flipping around them reheads, catching biggins on that jig. That's a 1 ounce. And then when I'm on my upland reservoirs, you know, I'll scale that down to a smaller, compact flipping jig, usually in the 3/8 ounce. This is just a killer. Something that a lot of people don't think about when it comes to flipping a jig. More times than not, this is not imitating a crawfish, man. Believe it or not. I know what we've read in books and things like that. These are great bluegill imitators. Big bluegill, and bass love big bluegill. They also love crawfish, and in some cases that's the forage as well. But that right there is a great bluegill imitator. So let's jump into what I'm throwing this on. So you cannot skimp on this setup right here. You're always fishing this around heavy cover, and you need to be ready for a 6+ pound bite at any given moment. So first things first is my fishing line. All right, this is Seaguar fluorocarbon. I'm throwing 25-pound Seaguar fluorocarbon, and Vizex is what I'm flipping right here. 25, not 20, 25. Don't sell yourself short. There's not much difference in the action of the bait when you're fishing that shallow from 20 to, let's say, 25. And so I like having that little bit of extra security in case old grandma decides to show up. So I just go ahead and roll with 25. Don't even play with it, all right? Now, the rod, this is the best part. Why? Because I designed the rod. You guys know I got a flip stick with favorite. This is the MDJ series. This is a hex. This is 7'8", and it's a heavy action rod, okay? Designed for horsing big fish out of heavy cover. It's very lightweight. It's very sensitive. If you have one, you already know. But if you don't have one, please give it a shot. It's an excellent rod. I love it. Obviously, it has my name on it. I wouldn't allow it to have my name on it if I didn't love this thing. And this is a bad to the bone flipping stick. And then you need a high-speed reel of some kind, okay? This one right here is, I think, this is a 7-to-1. But you want something at least a 7-to-1 to 8-to-1. 8's probably more ideal, all right? So, high speed on the reel. And that's pretty much gonna get you covered to go dangle this bad boy around some biggins, okay? A flipping jig. I absolutely love this bait right here. Now, moving along, we're starting to talk more about our casting jigs, okay? And a casting jig, you might even sometimes see me fishing it, I'm not gonna say in a heavy cover situation, but I might be skipping boat docks with the jig. I'm obviously not gonna be doing that with a 7'8". It's just not even feasible, right? Skipping boat docks with the jig. Casting, you know, around bushes or more sparse cover, not super heavy cover, and the water's clear. Or I might be offshore on the Tennessee River on the ledge, and I'm throwing a football jig. Or I'm out here on the Coosa River right here by the house, and I'm throwing a finesse jig for spotted bass. You know, there's a lot of different scenarios where I'm using this setup right here. And this is one of my all-time favorites as well, setup, this rod reel combo. You guys hear me talk about this a lot because I just did the last setup video on buzz baits, and it was this exact same rod that I used buzz baits. So this is a very useful all-purpose kind of a rod, and this is a favorite Pro Series. It's the 7'3" heavy action. There's so many different things you can throw on this rod. You can throw a chatterbait on this. You can throw a jig on this. Obviously, I throw a buzz bait on this. Carolina rig. I mean, the list is really long with this rod. So if you're looking for something very affordable, that's what we often refer to as like a utility rod, meaning there's at least 5 or 6 different techniques you can get by with one rod. This is your guy. I think we even talked about it on the pick 3. This was one of the pick 3. It was. So if you haven't watched that video, you guys go back and watch that. If I can only pick 3 rods. This was one of them. And here I am talking about it once again for my finesse jigs, my casting jigs, and my football jigs. So on here, there's a little more variance in the line. Line is critical. If I'm in a more open water scenario, I'm more apt to go with a lighter line. But you always got to be mindful of the size of the fish that you're fishing around, kind of knowing your lake. If you're fishing a place where you're allowed to be catching 5, 6, 7 pounders, you're probably going to want to tie some 20 on. But if it's, you know, more of your 1.5 to 3 pounders, your more typical lakes, right? We all ain't catching giants. I know how it is, trust me. 17 is probably my go-to. That is my day in, day out. I'm rolling up, I'm throwing 17. Now, I get broke off maybe from rubbing on rocks or something like that. I may want to bump that up to 20. But I usually start at nothing lighter than 17. And then when it comes to flipping, I will go up to 25. So 17, 20, and flipping, 25. That's my personal preference right there. And then you got different jig styles. So this right here, this is a balling out jig, more of a finesse jig, right? Then I have football jigs. I'll throw this on the same exact setup. And then there was one other style. Oh, my finesse jigs, right? I'll also throw that on this exact same rod. So great little combo right here. I had to do this one. This was one that didn't come up in the comments. You guys throw me tons of comments on suggestions on techniques I should do. I just left Santee Cooper. I was flipping a jig there a lot. It was fresh on my mind. Man, I wanted to talk about it. I know a lot of my younger cats, you guys trying to get on the screen and live scope some, which is absolutely nothing wrong with that. And you may not never flip a jig. But if you do, this is how you do it. This is where you start for all my young folks, right? So that's it, guys. Real simple and easy. The jig, it's an overlooked technique as we take steps into the future of bass fishing, which is all surrounded around electronics. But if you want to catch some giants, especially right now, this time of the year, and you got some dirty water scenarios, pick yourself up a jig, flip him around, cast him around, skip him around, and you guys will catch some really, really big fish. Trust me on that. I've done it for many years. But anyway, that's it for us on this setup, you guys. Thank you so much for all of the comments. You guys are great, man. I tell you this all the time, but I read all the comments, and you guys are great. We got a few haters, too. I love you guys, too. Keep commenting. I love every one of you guys. So much love. I'm getting ready to leave here in just another day or two, head over to West Point. There's a Tackle Warehouse Invitational. I jumped in because it's close to the house. Never even been to the lake, but that's what we do, bro. We travel the country, we chase these bass down, and we try to win these trophies. So I'll tune back in with you guys probably from Red Crest. Red Crest will be the next setup. So if you guys want to see something, a technique that's hot, you guys want to see it, let me know. Drop it in the comments. I will do my best to get to it. At some point, I will get to it. I can almost assure you. So thank you guys again. I'm out.